Hi everybody. So this is one of the first videos that you're going to be watching. and yeah, welcome. So I'm really hot. Uh, I have air conditioner in my house, but it's at one end of the house and my office is at the other end of the house. And so in the winter I freeze and in the summer I cook. What else? Oh yeah, the phone's ringing. Probably Trump running for president. Okay. The other thing that's happening is there's a mama bear and her two baby cubs that are somewhere in my neighborhood. So there's a helicopter that's flying around trying to, I don't know what it's trying to do, but you'll hear that in the background. Here we go. So um, you should have now figured out how to download the textbook. And this year it's called T21. And I have it right here. And I'm going to open that up. And as you can see, it's a series of folders. And each one of these has information in it. Each one teaches you a topic. There's a lab in there. You're expected to do the labs. And the first few of these presentations, we'll try to go slow. Oh, incidentally, so I'm doing this first one. And then the next ones are going to be done by Tony. We'll call him Professor Tony. So he's a really good teacher. He's a student, and so you'll see his smiling face. And there may be other students that do this too, and maybe you will want to do it sometime. So the textbook will be updatable, as you will see fairly soon, and so we can do that. All right. So I'm going to talk about the first folder. So I'm going to go inside there. It's called 001 Java Basics. So I'm going to go inside there. And notice there's two things in here. One of them is let's look at this like icons. Yeah. So one of them is a notes folder. And each of the folders will have one of those. And those are exactly what they say, notes. And then there's also going to be a link to a video. And dive in and do the first lesson. So there's two PDFs in here. One of them is about the history of Java, which if you're interested, you can look. I'm not going to talk about that. It's a little dry. So that's there for your FYI. But I'm going to talk about compiling and running a program. So I'm going to open this up. And like each folder is going to have something like this. So you have a couple ways you can learn this stuff. You can look at these PowerPoints and try to figure out what's going on. You can watch the video. You can talk to a friend. You can go online when you see what the topic is. And those are all legitimate ways to do this. Okay, so this is going to be about compiling and running. And there's a picture in here. It's my favorite picture. And I joke that I have it hanging in my living room, which I can't really joke anymore because now I'm in my house and I can't show you because I didn't really hang it in my living room. But anyway, this tells the whole picture of how to compile and run a Java program. So we're going to walk through this. So you're going to edit. You're going to use an editor just like you do when you write your English paper. You might use Word or Notepad or something like that. The thing we're going to use is called Notepad++. And this is designed specifically for coders. And that's where the English is. We're going to write a program, and the file that we get done with, just like a Word file has the extension doc, our file is going to have an extension .java. And then after we write this and save this, we're going to compile it. And this is how we make our apps. So this step of compiling turns our Java code, which is in English, into bytecodes, which can be interpreted by our computer. So this speaks, the processor can speak this language. Once we have, and it's the same name of the file, but it has the extension class, and this just magically appears. This gets created, and we'll show you how this works in just a second. And then once we have this, then we can run the program, and we're going to run it through the browser. And that's the beauty of Java, is that it's super compatible with the browser, which means it's like can do internet stuff, which means you can write apps and send them to your friend in another country and they can look at them, even if you don't have the same kind of computer. So yeah, the class file allows us to run our program. So there's two steps here, compiling and running, and the second version of this picture right below it enumerates that. So in just a second, I'm going to show you a file called C, which is like an app. You're going to double click it and it's going to do the compiling. And then I'll show you another little app that is called R, and it's going to do the running. So every time you write a new program, you're going to see it, and then you're going to R it, and then you'll look at your output. So we're going to demonstrate that right now. So I'm going to go back into my folder. And again, this is in T21, the textbook. This is like an electronic textbook, so you have to get used to this. It's not like you've got a physical book with pages in it. It's electronic, and I'm going to update it. So periodically, I'm going to say, go get a new textbook, and you'll press a button, and off you'll go. One thing I want to introduce here, which you'll hear more and more about, is base code. Tony will talk about this too. I put inside of 000 intro a folder called base code. And what this is the bare minimum for you to compile and run a program. And you should keep this pristine. So you can always go back to this if you're starting a new program or you screwed up something and you want to like start over again. And so I'm going to demonstrate this now by copying this. I'm not going to drag it. That's like ripping a page out of your book. I'm going to copy it. So I'm going to say, I'm going to highlight it and hit Control C. And then I'm going to go over on my desktop and hit Control V. And somewhere I should have a base code. There it is. It landed over here. Okay. So that's just a copy of this. So now I'm going to go look inside of here. And you're going to notice there's 3 files in here. One's called C, one's called R, and one's called starter. And I'm going to try to introduce these guys relative to my favorite picture. So starter is where we write our code. So it's like hello in this one. And notice it has the extension .java. So this is where the English is. And I'm going to open this up. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to edit it with Notepad++. Make sure you appreciate that if I go too fast, that you can pause the video. That's one thing that's good about remote. You can pause a video. If I was teaching in front of you and I went too fast, you'd probably be afraid to raise your hand and say, slow down, slow down. But here, you can just pause it, play it back. And so anyway, here's our English. This is our file, and I opened it up the editor. And by the way, when you do this, I'm going to make sure the language is Java. So I'm going to click the language button. This is just to make sure Notepad++ is happy. I'm going to go down to J and I'm going to click Java. Notice there's this black circle there. So that's under the language tab, J for Java. And that means I've selected Java, which is good. And so that means everything that the program does, it's the editor, it's going to make it the way Java likes it. Now there's a lot of stuff here. All this stuff, don't worry about. In fact, I only want you to worry about what's on line 4, or even simpler, what's between these 2 squiggly brackets. And that's something I say a lot, squiggly. And I call that a squiggly, not to be confused with a smooth. That's a smooth parenthesis. That's a squiggly parenthesis. And they come in pairs. So, and the editor, you can see how the editor works. If you put the cursor next to the one squiggly, it'll highlight its partner. And that's a good way to find out whether you have the right number or not. Anyway, there's one command here. And it says system.out.print, I love to learn coding remotely. And then there's a semicolon at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile this. This is my program. And if we go back here, I'm going to hit the C button, which is going to create this file, starter.class. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to double hit the C. It's like an app, and I get this window that opens, and everybody's happy, and it says press any key to continue. So that's good news. That means it got compiled. But I should notice back in this folder, there's now 4 files. So this is the thing that magically appears. And this has the bytecodes in it. And if we refer it back to this picture, it's this guy. Except ours is called starter because my initial file was also called starter. So I just successfully compiled my program. Now what I'm going to do is run it. So I'm going to double hit on the R button, and that's going to run this. And I'm going to go in here and double hit R, and you can see that now it says, I love to learn. There's a lot of stuff here, okay, but I'm going to focus in on the good part, which is my output. I love to learn coding remotely. So now we just compiled and ran our first program. And this is what I called the base code, as I said. And incidentally, if you just installed Java at your house, you could use this base code to test it to see if you successfully installed it. And now I'm going to do one edit just to demonstrate it. So I'm back with my editor, and I'm going to change love to hate. How negative. But maybe it's true. Got to represent everybody. So I edited my file. So now it says I hate to learn coding remotely. I have to save this. So I'm going to hit Control S. And then I'm going to go back to the base code file, which I put on my desktop. I'm just playing around with it. And I'm going to compile it again because I changed it. So I'm going to hit double C, and you can see here that I have successfully compiled it. And then I'm going to double hit R, and you can see the window that opens says, I hate to learn coding remotely. So this program, what it does is it takes whatever's between these two double quotes, which defines this is a string, it's a collection of characters, and puts it in the output command window, that black window. That's what this does. So whatever you put in here is going to show up there. So each lesson has a lab associated with it. And for this one, it's so simple. I want you to do what I just did. In other words, I want you to make a copy of the base code. And remember, I got that from 000 intro. It's inside there, base code. Make a copy, don't drag it, copy it, paste it on your desktop, and then edit it. Find Notepad++, edit the line of code, write something, compile, and run it. If somebody in your group has trouble, please help them. And when you get done, delete it. Okay, we don't want to look at my desktop as a mess. And I didn't do this enough. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm about ready to be finished with this video.